Yo, what's going on, everybody? I think I am coming through. Yes, I am. There we go. Okay, gonna get a show started here in just a second. Here, I can take this down. Here, let's go like this. Yo. All right, happy Thursday, everybody. It's time for some Canary Cry Clubhouse. Nobody freak out, okay? Nobody freak out. We're being patient. Things are going great. I think I have a lot to say, so I will say that when we start the actual show here, but we'll hang out. Let's see who's here. There we go. Now people are coming in. Now I see you. Welcome, everybody. Got Sir Darren in the chat, Caretaker Dan in the chat. Who else is in the chat? Scotty over on Rumble. Marty, not Sir Day. There you are, Marty. Caretaker Dan's here. Okay. All right, well, let's see how this goes here. Seems like a little bit of a light crowd today, but text message just went out. We'll see what happens there. And if not, it'll just be us. And that's what really matters, folks, because we're here to find some peace, to find some patience, to find some sanity. No headlines allowed. But of course, I make the rules so I can break the rules. There might be a headline or two. Who knows? We're leaving it up. There's no plan. The only plan is you gotta go ahead and call in. This is a call-in show, okay? So get ready. It doesn't hurt to even call in early, too. You'll see down in the description of the show, wherever you are, there'll be a little call-in link. You just click on that link or copy-paste it into a browser if that's what you need to do. It'll ask you a couple questions. You gotta give it permission to use the microphone, stuff like that. Put in your name, whatever name you would like to be live on the air. Then it'll put you into the back room, into a green room where you can sit, you can watch the show, you can listen to the show, you can chat with other people in the waiting room. And when the time comes, we'll bring you up on stage and we can chat. Don't worry, you don't need some sort of earth-shaking question or realization. You don't have to teach us all a lesson or anything. It's just a simple opportunity to chat, fellowship. And, by the time you call in, there's always plenty of topics that will be swirling around your head, conversation, themes forming, thanks to the Holy Spirit. And that's what we're doing. Letting it ride, baby. All right. So let's see. It's been a couple minutes. Okay, sounds good. Well, you know how this is going to work. I'm going to put up this art back like this. I'm going to hit the jingle. That jingle will tell Johns that we're officially starting the show. That is where the podcast will start. Here we go, everybody. Sit tight. Hold on to your butts. Here we go.
Called it. We got a caller. We got a caller on the line here.
What's going on, everybody? You're listening to Canary Cry Clubhouse. Just an opportunity for God to do some stuff this week that doesn't have to do with reading news or headlines, okay? Don't worry. Everything's going to be fine. As always on these show days, I try not to come with much of a plan. However, always amazed, always blessed with the way things go. And so that's what we're going to do. Shout out to all the podcast listeners. Maybe you can't make it live. Maybe you don't even watch the video. Maybe you're old school. Maybe you're one of the OG Canarians who listen to the podcast on the RSS feed. A big shout out to you guys. Shout out to Justin Bundy 17 in the chat, who says, Gons and Basil, I have been a fan for over a decade. Well, thank you very much. Glad to have you here, Justin. Who else we got here? Zilix is here. Monica's here. NJ, I'll call you NJ, is here. Let's see here. Kyle's here. Aban is here. Look at all these beautiful people. Aban says, patience is totally annoying. Best title. I love it. Thank you. I'm glad you thought so, because it really is. It's annoying for a few reasons. I'm definitely going to jump into it. I'm going to do it. Before I do that, I do need to follow up on a promise that was made last episode, okay? I don't want to forget it, so I'm just going to do it up here up top. I got a text message from 805. And the text message says, "Hey Baz, just writing to remind you that there's some eager Canarians excited to see a picture of your new breed of Nephilim rooster. Looking forward to Clubhouse. Thank you very much, 805. And lovely to get your message. I did, in fact, remember. I almost did not remember, but I did, in fact, remember to take a picture of the Franken rooster, the strangest rooster I've ever seen. One that does not make any sense to my high school level biology understanding, which, let's see, I'm going to pull it up here. Now, I don't know if it's the best picture. I tried. This is the rooster lives inside the house. For those who don't know, okay, the rooster lives in the house. This was not the plan, okay? The plan was to I thought it was a hen, bring the chick into the house, raise the chick, then put the chick in with the other chickens, right? Obvious plan. Got the chick, brought the chick inside, raised the chick. The chick was sort of a teenager, and then it started getting cold, okay? Started getting really cold outside. And when especially introducing a rooster to a new flock, you got to do this whole thing where you like keep them separate and kind of like cats, you got to like separate them, let them sniff each other. And it takes a while. So he would have had to live in a kennel inside the chicken coop where all the other chickens were roaming free. Now, the problem is when it's cold, chickens can survive extremely low temperatures because they bunch together. They keep each other warm. But a lone chicken cannot survive the cold as well because they cannot keep themselves warm. So it got too cold, and it was like, okay, we can't, this poor guy, I can't move him out into the thing. He's going to freeze to death. And then about a week later, I discover through a strange sounding alarm clock blasting at 3 a.m. that it was not a chicken, it is a rooster. So now I am sort of bound by my good nature to let this rooster live inside until it's time to we're able to, successfully convince the other chickens, me and the rooster. I gotta like go out there. I gotta tell everybody he's cool. I gotta vouch for it. It's a whole thing. So, but the weird thing about this rooster, I've never seen anything like it. Maybe somebody else has, but here's a picture of it right here. Booyah. Hopefully that's clear enough for you. So you can see it started out as a totally white rooster, right? Or chicken or whatever. It was totally white. And then it got a little older, and then it started getting little gray flecks. And I go, oh, okay, so it's one of those chickens that is white and has gray spots. Then it got a little older, and it got a single red feather poking out of its wing. And I go, that's weird. That doesn't seem to fit. And I thought maybe that it was blood, like he had picked it and it bled a little bit. But then, long story short, it's now the most insane looking sort of patchwork rooster. I could only get this one angle of him. If I can get other angles, I'm not sure if this totally shows just how insane looking he is. So you can see white and black rooster, but then he's got these weird continents of red feathers just on his wings. And then coming out of his beard are like these yellow golden feathers. Everything's totally out of place. Now, what I couldn't get a great picture of, because this is a side profile, I'll do another one, is that he's got these gigantic cheeks, these big poofy cheeks, and a mohawk on his head. So there you go. I got to work on my rooster, rooster photography skills, because he's just got a bunch of you can see his feet are furry too. He's got random feathers growing out of his toes, which I know, silkies do that. He's obviously got some silky in him, but he's just insane looking. Yeah, Caretaker Dan says Americana. I believe that this rooster was hatched from a silky and an Americana. Neither the silky or the Americana have red feathers or even yellow feathers. Anyways, thank you. Monica says, yeah, he's a real stud. Thank you very much. Caretaker Dan says Americana. Yeah, you can kind of see the Americana. The feet look like it's part Chinese silky. Yeah, a little bit. I don't know about Chinese silky, but he's got some weird silky in there. Thank you, Aban says he's magnificent, regal-esque, I must say. Yeah, and he's huge now. It's hard to tell in this picture, but he's enormous. So that's my little buddy. That is the new propaganda rooster. You will hear him screaming throughout the show, and you've probably heard him throughout the last several months screaming without the show. Do not listen to him. He is a Soviet-style KGB agent who is here to muddy the waters. He's a 5th generation warfare agent, and he's here to put disinformation into the stream, but we love him anyways. Who's this? Justin says you have to keep him. He'll protect your hens. That's a Rock Island Red, he says. Rock Island. Okay, I will look in to Rock Island Red. I don't know where that would have come from, but let's see if he looks like a Rock Island Red. Okay, don't worry, everybody. We're not going to spend the whole day on rooster categorizing. I cannot get a picture of a Rock Island Red. It says it's a wine. A Rock Island Red is a wine or a train, funny enough. Oh yeah, no, I'm looking at these Rock Island Reds. Rhode Island? Did you mean Rhode Island Red? Okay. Anyways, there you go. There's chicken. Thank you very much. Also, some exciting news in case X did not share my X post with you, which of course it doesn't. A couple of people saw the post. I have officially moved 7 emu eggs out of the incubator and into the hatcher cabinet. So in the next 72 hours, Lord willing, we will start having some little emus coming out. I'll make sure to take some pictures. I'm a little nervous. For those who don't know, this is the 3rd time I have tried to incubate emu eggs, and I've never once been successful. So I'm trying not to get my hopes up, but I did drop a bit of a stack on these professional emu egg incubators. Thankfully, I got to call in some Christmas presents and some combined birthday presents and got the incubators. So hopefully it works. I don't know. But doing a lot of reading about the emu hatching thing, okay? And there's not a whole ton of reading to be done, but there is some reading on the internet. Now, emu hatching obviously is not like an enormous pastime, not a huge industry. So, like I said, there's really only a handful of blogs, handful of websites, that you can really trust to give you this type of walkthrough on how to successfully raise the emu. And they all give different information. Is really annoying. They all give different humidities, different temperatures, different timing. So I'm not going to be honest. I am going to be honest. I'm not going to be honest. All I can do at this point, and this is one thing they do all say. They might have different numbers, different humidity, different temperature, different timing, but they all do say. So I'm taking this as a piece of with confidence from my fellow emu hatchers out there, that there comes a time when you move the egg into the hatching cabinet. The only thing to do is to have patience. And they talk. These emu people are weird people, as you already know, but they're very deep thinkers. Okay, they're weirdos. I mean, go look up, anything, how to hatch emu, how to feed emu, whatever on YouTube. God bless them. Every single one of these people is an emu person, which means I'm an emu person. So I guess, I'm in good company, but it's a weird crowd. They all talk so eloquently about the patience that it takes once you put them into the hatcher. Now, for me, I've spent many years trying to hatch these emus, never have been able to do it. So my hopes aren't very high. And so the patience part, I find it a little easier than I usually do. And It's very interesting. I was not actually planning on telling the emu hatch story on this show when I named the episode that patience is annoying. But this is how the show works. I put very little planning into the show because I know that the Holy Spirit's got it. Okay. So I'm just going to keep rolling with this. Um, there's a lot of things going on in the world, including my emu eggs in the hatcher. And while there are times in life where it is really important that we're really diligent and that we're really active, such as when the emus are in the incubator, you got to turn those things by hand 3 to 5 times a day. You got to keep the temperature precise. You got to keep the humidity precise. You're in there, you're going into that hatcher, that incubator like up to 5 times a day just to get your hands on these little suckers, because that's what's required to get them through that gestation period. Is very hands-on. And it's very, there's something about it though. The In those times when you have to be hands-on, it gives you something to do throughout the day. You can plan your day. You know what your life looks like. You got to get in there, turn the egg. You got to get in there, refill the humidifier. And the pattern of your life kind of takes form for this period of time. Now, obviously, let's apply these concepts to our life. I was talking about all of last year, 2025. People have been listening. You know this. I keep bringing it up. But in case you weren't here, my whole theme for 2025, and God, I felt God speak to me pretty clearly back in January of 2025. And he said, look, 1 year from now, which happens to be today, the world is going to be entirely different. Things are going to be unrecognizable. And there's no way to guess what it's going to be. You can kind of have a vague idea, but you don't know what 2026 is going to be like. And so over and over and over, I harped in 2025. This is the time. This is the year that we have to get really serious and get really serious about a lot of things, but primarily things like our faith, right? And when I talk about getting really serious with your faith, I know this is kind of a corny thing to talk about, and like every pastor and every church has like talked about this, but it's one of those things that just doesn't come naturally. And it seems really hard. It sounds really hard. And even thinking about it, you're like, oh, geez, that's hard. But it's so simple to spiritually prepare yourself for whatever. It's extremely simple, but it's not easy. I think I even named like a whole episode after this. It's simple, but not easy. Okay. You read your Bible, you pray, you turn from sin and turn towards virtue. Simple things. You can do them all in like 5 minutes, but you do them consistently every day. Easy peasy. I guarantee you, a year from that moment, if you keep doing it, you're going to be in an entirely different place with your faith, and you're just going to be so happy you did. So that was the message 2025. And whether it's with your faith, whether it's with like starting something, starting a ministry, starting a business, whatever it was, 2025 was the year to get down to business and do the simple things to prepare yourself. Kind of like rotating emu eggs 3 to 5 times a day for like 50 days. See? But now we're here in 2026. We can all agree that the situation right now is an entirely different world than it was January 2025. And the overwhelming feeling that I'm getting, I get a lot of overwhelming feelings. I share them often, but the vibe to me, and it's kind of reflected in the last episode as well. We're just riding it out. Okay. We don't need to get super. There's the rooster. I don't know if you heard him. Propaganda rooster yelling. We're riding it out. Okay. We prepared in 2025. Now is the time to let go and let God, to use a corny phrase, because we don't have control, whether it's geopolitical, whether it's economic, whether it's Bitcoin or gold or cash or local politics, whatever. To a degree, this is the time that we've sort of been preparing for and that we've been working so hard. I don't know, to getting to in a quality way. But today, whether it's politics, whether it's the economy, whatever it is in your life, it is out of our hands at this point. We are there. Hopefully, you did the preparation last year because we're here now, and this is what we've been preparing for. This is what we've been training for. And if you're a Bitcoin person or an economy person or a politics person, all you can really do is just look around and be like, oh, this is crazy. This is crazy. And the only thing to do is to be patient and ride it out. Kind of like you just moved some emu eggs into a hatcher. And patience, as the title of this show suggests, is really annoying. Patience is really annoying because it is simple, but it is not easy. In all of my life, I think this is pretty common in our culture today. The instinct is, or at least what we're taught, what we're compelled to do, what we're shamed into doing, what we're oftentimes forced to do, is to operate under this idea that if we're not doing something about it, if we're not working every free moment that we have, if we're not, prepping every moment, then we're not doing it right. And honestly, for me, I learned this last year, that staying busy, even, either on like a daily basis or just like in general, staying busy, especially when we're waiting for something, staying busy is like a good way to distract ourselves. Oftentimes, it can have negative consequences because we forget maybe the more important things, or we forget to rest or whatever. But we're encouraged and rewarded for just constantly doing. If there's something coming, you got to do. If, you get the point. I don't need to put this several different ways. But there are some times in our life where we are in a situation where it doesn't matter how much we do. It is out of our hands. There's nothing we can do to prepare, to stop it, to influence it, to whatever. And in fact, that's when we try to fill our days, fill our mind, fill our hearts, fill our whatever time with stuff, because it helps us forget that we're not in control. But sometimes God is calling us to patience. And we all know this. I mean, surely we should always be patient in all sorts of different ways, but sometimes patience is the only thing to do. Because if we're not actively practicing patience, if we're trying to fill our time or whatever, then we don't have that time for God to really sit and work on us. I talked about this a couple episodes. I'm sorry, I forget who it was. But I went on this whole rant about like, shoot, I forget her name. I apologize, but she was talking about like her parents are Catholic and she's Protestant. She really feels like, you know, witnessing to them, or maybe evangelizing is not the right word, but really spending time and being diligent about talking to them about their Catholicism to try to, maybe affect the things like worship of Mary or whatever, because she loves her parents and wants to make sure that everything's straight there. the metaphor was, we are God's tools. We are tools of God. And if the tool is sitting there being like, I'm a hammer. I need a nail. Let me go. Let me run around. I gotta keep nailing things. I gotta hit something. It's my job. I gotta do it. Then it's just gonna drive itself crazy because it can't move on its own. It's ineffective outside of the hands of the craftsman. Outside of the hands of God, the master craftsman. I guess it's kind of Masonic, but you know what I mean. The hammer's just sitting there in a drawer. But in the hand of God, the tool only has to strike twice, to hammer that nail in. The hammer doesn't need to worry about it. The hammer doesn't need to fret. The hammer doesn't need to feel guilty that he's sitting there looking at the nail and it's not nailed in. Because when the time comes, when God decides to use us, it's so effective that it's obviously outside of our own the ability. In the same way, here we are. And we know, well, honestly, some of us might not know because I hadn't thought about it. So maybe I didn't even know. But these periods of patience, are very, very important. And in my life, I don't know about y'all's life, but I look back to all the periods of my life where there was nothing that I could do about something, the things that were out of my control, the things that I was really worried about, there's for sure worrying things. I was just like, there's got to be something I can do. There's got to be a way I can get myself out of this or something like that. The times that patience were really forced upon me, or I finally just gave up and said, okay, God, I'll just be patient about this. And it's really annoying. It's painful sometimes. Like if we're not practiced in patience, like that's, sometimes we think patience is just like, something I can be, something I will do. And to a degree, there's an aspect of that. But to be truly patient, just because you're sitting in the chair waiting quietly doesn't mean you're actually patient. You know what I mean? How many times, either as a kid or maybe in the waiting room at the dentist or something like that, whatever, where you're just like, okay, have a seat. The doctor will come see you. And so physically, in the material world, you are sitting still in a chair. You're not jumping around. You're not moving around. You're not doing things. Although these days, we're on our phones, of course. But patience is much more than just the act of sitting still. There's an aspect of faith to it. There's an aspect of, I don't know, maybe confidence or maybe peace, of course, I think is a good part of it. There's looking patient and then there's being patient. And usually the being patient comes with a lot of practice that does start with looking patient. You might not actually be patient, right? The more you practice sitting in the chair, the more you can resist wasting your time and energy and striving to find a way to make the thing happen faster or something. But with practice and with intention and with being very specific and asking for God's help with God's grace, you can sit in the chair and you can actually be patient. And honestly, sometimes I think about it, or sorry, if I'm just thinking out loud, I mean, true patience happens, it like coincides just being present with God. right? And we know what that means, like actually being present with God, not just sitting in church or something like that. Like actually being in relationship, being in presence, being in conversation with God is sort of required for this sort of true patience that we're called to. And so it really feels like that's where we are, I think. Because it came 2026 and you guys have heard me ramble on. This is the time. I told you things would be different. I told you. But the chaos is, of course, being manufactured and being held at such a high level. I think it's a really awesome opportunity to be patient, to be present with God. And like I mentioned before, in my life, the times when I'm forced to be patient and the times when I really work to be patient, to be present, to actually not just look patient, but finally sort of ease into the confidence and faith that God's the one in control at this moment. No kidding. Those are the times when the timer goes off that God's glory has been the most apparent. The abs the most amazing outcomes, the most unexpected outcomes, the things when I'm sitting there and I'm told to be patient, I'm worrying and I'm like, oh no, this is bad. I better do something. Oh no, I better do something. And then I surrender to God's timing, what God's doing in that moment, and then be present with Him, be like, okay, God, all right, I'm trying. Here we go. Patience time. In those times of my life, it's always the most miraculous set of circumstances that God sets up. Almost always, the end of that patient period is so mind blowing because God loves doing this, right? He loves the reaction of, ah, did not see that one coming, God. Holy smokes. Really good job on this one. And he can go like, yeah, I told you. I told you I had it under control. And it's these moments that build my faith in ways that nothing else could. No long-term practice. I mean, of course, that's all very important. No, you know, this or that. But the times when I am forced to look patient, then I'm able to be patient. At the end of that time, the way God resolves whatever is going on in that time is can only be attributed to God really wanting to show off. And so I'm being patient for 72 hours, hoping that these emu chicks hatch. Because who knows? And when finally, after 3 years, a little beak starts poking through the like armored shell of these crazy emu eggs, it's going to be miraculous. And so it is with so many other things going on right now. I don't know if we got any crypto bros in the chat. Don't know if we got any gold bugs in the chat. Don't know if we got any, whatever, politics nerds. There are so many things that are just in this crazy holding pattern that are entirely out of our control, that to some degree, the only thing to do is to start by looking patient and hopefully being able, and if it hasn't been revealed to us yet, pray that it gets revealed to us what actually patience looks like and feels like to all of us. And I hope I'm communicating that well. I really don't want to. Anyways, I hope that's communicated, because I've learned, especially on this show, when something like that, even something that may seem kind of pedestrian and boring, like the concept of patience, I think it's a good word for all of us. In some of you may have personal circumstances like that going on. Some of you may be really wrapped up in, like I said, some of the weird economic stuff. I mean, we're in this transition. I mean, talk about patience. We've been talking about the transition from one era to the next, from the new world order to the golden age. And the way we've been describing this time we're in has been transition. There's obviously a transition happening. Started out sort of as an idea and as a prediction and as a theory years ago. And now we're watching it happen in real time. But it's totally outside of our control. And the real trick is when the world wants to convince you that it is in your control. The enemy loves this. Don't get me wrong, sometimes things are in our control. But sometimes the best way that the enemy can sabotage you is by convincing you that you have the power to come in and change things. I'm talking broad strokes here. There are people right now in this country and in this world who are so convinced that they personally have the ability to shift an ongoing, global, huge, prophetic, unstoppable situation by escalating their own behavior. Because that's the logic of it, right? When we're trying to do something, if we try to do it and it doesn't work, we can either do nothing or do something else, or we can escalate our actions, escalate our fervor, escalate our tactics. And sometimes when something is really in our control, escalating is the thing to do. But if the enemy can convince you that something going on is within your control that it's not, the best thing he can do to derail you, make you spiral, send your life and your mind and your heart off into an unknown direction, the best thing he can do is to keep convincing you that all you got to do is escalate. Just escalate. If you just do it a little harder, if you just escalate your tactics, if you just show up more, if you just sleep less, if you pray less, if you do more, if you work more, if you whatever, protest more, if you complain on the internet more, if you're mean, if you're a little meaner to people, you're a little nastier to people, if you make them feel more uncomfortable, if you get into more fights, then you can make the thing happen that you want to happen. And there are times when that's what's to be done, and there are times that, God calls us to give it all we got. Then there's times that the enemy has us so confused as to our own power, as to our own control. I mean, this goes all the way back to the garden, folks. I mean, what was the essential lie? The essential lie from the serpent was, oh no, you can be as gods. You can have control. You can do what God does. You can bend this world in whatever direction you want. He doesn't want you to know it, but you can do it. All you got to do is this. I mean, heck, if that's not a parallel or a mirror to what we're seeing with the elites and the files and the things that have been going on, it all goes back to the core sin, the original deception of pride. That we can have control of the universe in every way we want. It's just a matter of how much we escalate our efforts and our tactics. And so there's these little things, and I encourage you to look for these little things in your own life, right? Maybe not everybody is, working on hatching emu eggs or something, but everybody has something else in their life. And maybe there's a period when you were really hands-on. You were working on it every day. You were taking steps. You were going, persevering, preparing. And that's good. That's what God wanted you to do in that season. But now we're in a new season. And no matter how you escalate, and no matter how much harder, nothing's working. Nothing's getting better. Nothing's in your control. Then maybe there's an opportunity for all of us to say, okay, is this time for patience? Is this time we've done what we need to do? Sit back, sit in the chair, even if you don't want to. You can fidget, you can be antsy, whatever. Just start doing it. And then when you're there, just focus on being present with God and letting Him do His thing. And like I said about the hammer, you don't need to worry. Because when it is time for you to act, you'll know it. When it is time for you to act, I mean, under the principles of the sovereignty of God, you're gonna act. He's going to pick up the hammer and he's gonna swing it one time and he's gonna nail the nail in the board, and it's gonna be swift, it's gonna be deliberate, and it's gonna be miraculous. And it'll feel miraculous. It'll feel like, oh my gosh, that was not by my power. You'll feel that what just happened was God moved. God moved in the situation. God moved you. God arranged the circumstances, arranged the choices. And God did it. And that is such a sweet, sweet payoff, my friends. I mean, it is the best feeling. It is the most satisfying thing when you so blatantly, obviously watch God do His thing. So that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at today, specifically. I think maybe it helps me understand a little bit more where I am at in a broad sense today, at this point in time, in this February 2026, in the middle of the biggest global transformation that we've ever seen, no matter how much we've been thinking or planning or talking about it. Because the thing is so big. I mean, we know. I don't need to list all the different prophetic ways that the world is shifting Many of them we're aware of, many of them we're not aware of. But that's the kind of setup, right? That's the kind of setup where God's glory really is the only thing that can come from that sort of situation. So I got some text messages coming in. Just going to check here. Yep. Okay. Just making sure. I think that's that for now. Now, remember, folks, it is a call-in show, which requires people to call in. And don't worry, you don't need something fancy to say. You don't even need to build off of what I've said. You don't need to, it's not your responsibility. Okay. It's barely my responsibility. It's the Holy Spirit moving. Anybody who calls in, even if they're just saying hi, it's a win. Okay. It's a call-in show. Without call-ins, it's very, very sad. If you don't know how to call in, look in the description of this video down below, wherever you're at. You'll see the phrase call in link. And then there will be a link there. You should be able to just click on it. But if not, copy and paste it, put it in a browser. You know how it goes. It'll ask you a few questions. It'll put you into the back room where you can talk and chat with other people in the back room. You can watch the show, listen to the show. So don't worry, you won't lose your access. But go do it now. Okay. We got a couple people in the back room. We're going to say hi. So there's definitely more room if people wanted to get in there. Let's see here. Quick shout out before we bring up our first callers. The Canary Cry text message alert system. You should get on it. Get on it right now. Take out your phone, open the text message thing, text the word canary to 877-740-3226. That's canary to 877-740-3226. Just the word canary, okay? Nothing fancy. And you'll start getting texts from me before we go live, so you'll never miss a show. But the fun part is that you can text us at this number whenever you want, 24/7. I will not text you back because it is extremely expensive for us to do so. But I do read all of them, and sometimes I read them on the show. So it can be like Kat. Kat texted, says, "Hey, Basil, just want to say how much I enjoy and appreciate the call-in show. Bless your time together. Catch you on the potty." Thank you very much, Kat, listening on the RSS feed. Let's see, who's this? 614 says, "Besides the birth of my children, one of the greatest moments of my life was getting to pray for Rob Skiba at the Take on the World conference. He was a humble man with much to say." That is true. Yeah, goodness gracious, Rob Skiba. I can't believe it. Sorry. What I can't believe, for so many different reasons, is Candace Owens doing her show, now multiple shows, referring to Rob Skiba, playing Rob Skiba clips, I'm told. Now talking about Tom Horn. It looks like we've been watching, maybe with a little bit of dismay, the topics that the Canarium is so famous for extend and get more people, hundreds of other shows, hundreds of other influencers. It's like a mainstream topic now, things like Nephilim and giants and things like that. It's just everywhere. And it's kind of crazy. It feels weird. Like what our whole thing has like spilled over. It took 15 years, but it's spilled over into the mainstream. Of course, we thought once it's in the mainstream, then everybody will listen to our show. Well, they don't need to because it's everywhere else. But this is specifically a little bit stranger because it's not just the topics spilling over into mainstream. It's like our actual friends, our actual people, the actual research and the actual content made by friends of the show, Tom Horn, Rob Skiba, even Timothy Alberino, that kind of stuff. They're actually reaching into our weird little clique or genre. The hand of the mainstream reaches into the weird fringe Christian, truthers from 2012 and plucking them out of obscurity and putting them on the biggest shows in the world. I'm happy for him. Part of me gets a little worried because, to be completely honest and vulnerable, and Lord help me if this is the incorrect feeling. Lord, change my heart if you would like me to change my heart. It does scare me a little bit. I don't know why. It's intimidating a little bit. Maybe at the prospect of, now, don't get me wrong. I'm being very vulnerable with you right now, so please understand me. What I'm not saying is that I expect Candace to call Gons and I and put us on the show or something. 0% chance that happens, at least by my calculations. But the thought of that is a bit terrifying to me. So pray for me, because I certainly don't want to be outside the will of God. I certainly don't want fear or something to get me out of alignment. But yeah, I don't know. I'll have to think and pray about that more. Anyways, thank you for the text, 614. There you go. I think that's most of the relevant text messages we got here. Appreciate that. Somebody sent me a picture and I can't open the picture on my computer. I apologize. I bet it's a really good picture. Okay. Well, I think the time has come to bring on a caller. Let's see what's going on here. Let me check the chat here. Yeah, good chat today. You guys are cranking out the chat. Okay, good conversations going on. All right, first caller. He was in early, and he's here now. First on the list, Sir Darren, Night of the Hungry Panda. What's up, buddy? You are
Hi, Basil.
on the stage. How you doing?
I'm hungry.
He's hungry.
I'm hungry like a wolf.
Is this spiritually or physically?
It was both. I think I was crashing from lack of like blood sugar, and now I'm spiking.
Oh yeah, that's perfect time to get you on stage, man. Let the blood sugar bring the heat.
Real quick, you mentioned Candace Owens. This is a thought that popped in my head. You said you're terrified by the thought, but would you want to be on Candace Owens?
That's what I mean. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I am not sure.
It is interesting that she is showing the content from people, but so far the two people you mentioned have unfortunately passed away. So
yeah,
it's kind of like she can just use it how she wants.
Yeah, good point. That's a really good point. Yeah, and I'm not even expecting. I don't know. I feel it would be a bit prideful to think that would even. Why would she even care about us? So this is purely hypothetical. But hypothetically, the thought of, for some reason, if she asked us to go on, I'm trying to like feel it and think it live here. And it's frightening, but I don't know why. I think
is it because like this would be my thought maybe is like, so obviously Candace is not, she's not CNN, but she's kind of like a step below CNN a little bit. That might be giving her too much credit, but then it's like, so does it feel weird to be like, okay, I'm the guy with the VR headset going on Candace Owens, or is she gonna say, take it off?
Something.
And you're like, and you're torn between, should I be on Candace Owens and like spread the message to everyone with her platform? Is that what God is calling me to do at the expense of getting rid of the VR headset?
Well, that is always a question. Yeah, specifically the anonymity part. But the problem is, like, once you're on Candace, like, it almost doesn't matter if the VR headset's on and off. She's such a magnet for negativity and like so much attention. Honestly, the thought of all the attention kind of spooks me a little bit.
Well, I mean, if she calls you, just wear the beard and the hat, like, remember the Viking beard? Just do that.
totally. Yeah, I'll
Okay,
get
fine.
yeah. Obviously, it's not going to happen, but the very idea of it, it's almost like when you're swimming in the ocean and like a giant wave is coming, and that's like the feeling. It's like a pit of my stomach kind of feeling at the thought of it. But hypotheticals are fun.
It is fun. So anyway, another sort of topic of the day. I don't know if it was on my bingo card. I find it ironic that I called in and asked about this question, but I find it ironic that I've now heard the crypto bros go from buy and hold crypto to buy gold to now saying, the best thing to do maybe is just have USD.
That's funny. I haven't quite seen that yet, but
Yeah,
I
it's kind of like just some early with the chaos going on. I heard a few people sort of putting it out there a little bit.
Well, it's not necessarily wrong. I mean, the concept is called dry powder, meaning you want to have some cash so you can buy at the bottom, basically. So the simple logic is there. But you're right. I mean, it's hilarious, and I think crypto bros are a great example of, the types of people who maybe could try practicing patience a little bit more, which is totally anathema to the like trading ethos, which is like, got to be trading, got to get this, got to get that, got to do the short. It's all about quick, serious, make the money, blah, blah, blah. You got to be decisive. You got to move. When, I don't know, at least in my experience, who has witnessed and been up close to all 4 or 5 Bitcoin cycles now, where it always goes down 70% or something. Maybe it's just this precious gift that God has given me of the desire for patience these days. I'm a little bit more on the like, okay, everybody, you don't necessarily have to say and act on every single thing that comes to your mind. But that's how you if your profession is putting out social media posts, you got to talk about something.
Yeah. It was funny. The other thing I called in about was I was talking to someone the other day, and they were talking about basically how their husband is a pastor, and we got onto the topic of like ChatGPT and AI basically. And they were saying how, oh yeah, they love AI, they love using all the different ChatGPT and Claude and all these different ones to kind of do things, and for their, not just for like just the I can't think of the word, but basically the business of running the church part,
Right.
and then also some other things. And I sort of mentioned offhandedly that a lot of ChatGPT comes from Reddit. Like that's sort of like where it grabbed a lot of its information.
Yeah.
And they really had issues with that statement. Really? Oh, they had like almost a physical reaction to it.
Like they didn't believe you, or like it made them mad?
Yeah, like they basically, their reaction was almost like, that can't be true. Don't tell me that, because that can't be true. And
yeah.
It was kind of an interesting conversation.
Does show how much like faith they put in it, or how much they rely on it, maybe.
Well, it was funny because I was talking to their wife. I wasn't even talking to the pastor. I was talking to the wife of the pastor, who was mentioning how much they use it. So I don't know why they had the reaction they had, but it was very interesting, because I think too, I've heard them mention before how they think that AI is going to like take over, counseling jobs and whatnot.
Right.
And because so it made me wonder if maybe they're using it for themselves to do like counseling. And so,
for sure. Yeah, that's the spookiest thing. Because what you're saying is 100% real, and I think people forget it or selectively forget it or something like that. But yeah, if you're doing pastoral counseling like if you are receiving pastoral counseling or even therapy or whatever, and even have a hint that they are using AI in one way or another, it's just like, yeah, I might as well just go on Reddit and ask Antifa what to do about my situation.
Well, that might have been what like got them too, is because I was sort of explaining, like I started explaining, how the algorithm works to even make a chat GPT kind of work. And then I said, and then imagine all of that sort of an amalgamation of all the comments off Reddit.
Yeah.
So it's basically like you've got all these Reddit users that are now giving you advice. And I think that's what sent them a
Oh, that's
little over the
horrible.
edge. Like,
Yeah.
oh, but
I
it
mean,
was like,
that's a painful realization that is really important for people like pastors to have as early as possible.
yeah. But it was crazy to me. I'm hearing these people like in these pastor positions and things who are using ChatGPT and AI, and I feel like it's been so saturated now that they're not even stopping to ask, like, well, how does this work?
Yeah.
They're just, it's just there, so they're just using it.
Yeah. And I do want to say there are reasons and things that are okay to use ChatGPT for. But honestly, if you're using it for anything more than just a better search function, you're really putting yourself at risk of, not only like bad advice or just made up, things, but also you're losing your ability, your own brain. You are losing the ability to do what you're asking it to do. They've proven this over and over and over now. So if a pastor is using ChatGPT to give pastoral advice, or really even, typing out or something, writing a sermon is one thing, but using it for like deep research and letting ChatGPT like draw conclusions and like comparisons with scripture and stuff is very not only like it's going to be bad, just blatantly bad. It's going to make stuff up, and what it doesn't make up is just going to be so obvious or wrong. But you're actively like draining your brain of the ability to do that task. It's pretty spooky.
Yeah, because I even someone else had asked me that too. They're like, well, do you use any of that ChatGPT? And I said, I do. And it's obviously, it's like, I said, I liken it to if Lance Armstrong used an e-bike. So
Yeah,
it's like eventually his goal is to win races like riding a bike.
yeah,
But eventually, if he rides an e-bike long enough, he's basically just atrophying his muscles.
totally.
And so if the goal is for him to ride the e-bike to get better at winning races, that's a bad idea.
Yeah,
But if the goal is for him just to get from point A to point B while he's in town,
yeah,
that's a different scenario, basically.
totally.
I also got someone got really mad at me too that I was talking about, where I kind of had this conversation where I was like, yes, it is just a tool, but also we should also keep in mind that this may be a tool that was created with malice intent as
Possible.
well. And so that really triggered someone one time when I was talking
Yeah,
about that, because they're, you know, I don't know if I personally go so far as to say that the AI itself is demonic, but I think that the people who maybe created it, if they did have that sort of intent, then it leaves the door open.
the door is open. Like a lot of things, opens doors, but for sure the door can be opened. I mean, like I said, we've gone through it over the years now, but even the fact that uh, Google's, guy engineer was a Gnostic priest, and they brought him on specifically because he was a Gnostic priest. You go into all these AI guys' weird, spirituality. It's just like, why would you? It'd be like reading from a Bible that was written by a Gnostic priest or a crazy cultist billionaire or something.
Well, we do have those.
Yeah, we do. I don't,
Some
I
people
don't
don't like those
usually
translations.
yeah, usually I try to avoid those ones specifically,
Or
so
the those are the Bibles with the margins, right? People.
yes, right. Yeah, once
But anyway, oh,
they
real
start
quick
messing with
before I
the formatting, things get a little weird.
oh yeah, um, before I go, I googled your rooster, and the closest one that I thought it looked like was an Easter egger.
Easter egger? That's interesting.
Yeah.
Let's see, Easter egger. It's interesting because I don't have any Easter egger chickens, but I guess maybe with like, you know,
Well, it also
Punnett
is
squares and stuff, you can
it's basically like a Nephilim one. It's a hybrid. It's a
oh yeah.
hybrid, so it's combined.
Let me
So
see. Make sure this is good to share here. So yeah, I'm kind of going through Easter egger stuff. This one I can see like a little bit of influence here, just kind of with the like, I don't know, the texture of the feathers. Let's see here.
yeah, and
This guy
there was
comes
one
from
picture where
Africa.
one of them had like even gold feathers, and then it had like sort of the puffy cheeks you had
Oh
mentioned.
yeah, this guy right here.
So
He's got some of the puffy cheeks and a little bit of this. Yeah. Yeah, it's weird, man. I don't know if it's close enough, but I know for a fact. Well, here's the problem. I don't know for a fact which chicken actually laid the egg that got done. I think there's obviously some Americana in there because of the cheeks, and there's definitely some Silky in there because my only rooster is a Silky before this guy. So it's Silky and something made this like just insane monstrosity. I'm pretty I need to get this guy out there with the ladies, man. I need to see what comes out of this.
as it
So,
was in the days of Noah,
yeah, right.
it'll be in Basil's backyard.
Oh, goodness gracious. Well, do you have anything else on your mind here today, buddy?
No,
I
that was
appreciate you
pretty
calling
much
in, man.
it. All
All
right,
right.
thank you.
God bless. Take it easy,
You
bud.
too. Bye bye.
Bye. This chicken, man, it's gonna be the death of me. It goes off several times a night. The sad part is I actually sleep through some of his rooster crows now. I'm like getting used to it. I fear that I will like miss him when it's gone, just like the atmosphere of the house. Something will be missing. It's okay. Maybe he'll be indoor outdoor rooster. Like some people do that with their cats. Put a little rooster door by the back door, let them come in and out. We'll see. All right. Let's see here. Oh, oh, you know what? Let me do this. We got another caller in the waiting room. I don't want to make him wait too long, but let me look at something real quick. Something came to me. I'll save it. I'm not going to derail things. Okay. Another caller. We got Sir David G on the line. Going to bring you up, buddy. Here we go. You're on the air. What's up, buddy?
Nothing. How you doing, best buddy Basil?
Hanging in there, chilling. I think I went live at a weird time or something today because maybe there's something going on that I don't know of. But anyways, I'm having a good time. How about you? What's on your
No,
mind today?
it's good for me because I was trying last week to get in because I have to pick up my children from school, and it just worked out really well today.
Oh, good.
So it kind of ties into patience, what something that's been on my mind lately, and really God's patience with me specifically. Maybe what I'm about to say will apply to other people because I'm pretty sure I can't be the only one. Um,
Can't be.
but what's been on my mind is you hear the term born again a lot, right? Um, rebirth, being born again. Um, and I often, kind of looked at myself as maybe not fitting into that, not actually being reborn, you know. But really, when I started to think of because several things happened this week to kind of tie it all together for me. And I finally came to the realization that, while, you know, the birth itself was possibly the most complicated birth there ever could be. I was upside down, my head was too big and the cord was wrapped around my neck. By the time I was actually spiritually birthed, it was a pretty intense process, very traumatic. But after birth, there's still a growing up phase, right? You go through being a newborn and needing to, everything needing to be done for you, being coddled and fed and and all of that.
Totally.
And I had this idea because I've heard so many other people, when they share their testimony, it's like an instant for them, right? The moment they accept Christ, that their life instantly changed.
Mm.
And I always thought that I was somehow, that he didn't really love me, he didn't really forgive me, or that there's something that I was doing wrong that he just did not approve of, or that there was like something I'm missing, some next step, some or maybe that I'm just inherently, um, that I'm one of those he spoke of, depart from me, I never knew you, right? Like that.
Mm.
Why show me all of this truth when you're just going to reject me in the end anyway? But what I came to realize is that that traumatic birth, right, just prepared me for a somewhat traumatic, a newborn toddler phase.
Uh,
And that I was reading in John, I think it's chapter 15, where Jesus starts talking about he is the vine. And what he says is that, those, um, how does he say it? I think it's verse 2. I'm going to butcher it, but basically he says, the Father purges those who he's given me, right? He purges them so they can bear more fruit. And so this whole time I'm like, I'm being very hypercritical of myself and thinking that there's really something wrong with me. And then finally somebody else just kind of made me realize this whole time I'm trying to forgive myself, like it wasn't really necessary, because the forgiveness that really only matters comes from Christ, and he's already done that.
yeah.
And that was the moment for me that the switch flipped. And I'm not saying like, I'm out here, healing lepers and stuff like that, healing the lame, but it's the simple fact that he was so patient with me through all of this, and that I'm reading the scriptures, and these things are just standing out to me that were never there before, because even the scriptures were difficult to read, because there was just so much conviction about how awful and horrible and wicked and evil I am,
Mm.
that I can't read them for very long, because it got to be too much. But that switch flipped, and now it's different, and now I'm seeing it all different. And just the fact that like he's put up with me for so long, and his patience has been so immense, it, it's difficult to really put into words, or even to understand,
Yeah.
because for me, if someone had treated, who said they loved me but didn't really behave like they did, I would have given up a long time ago. But he didn't. He just kept, with his grace and forgiveness. It was always there and always available. I just didn't accept, and I didn't believe, because I was so busy. And it could have a lot to do with the fact that I was raised Mormon, right? So
Mm.
there's
Yeah.
this checklist, right? They have their checklist. It's like they love the checklist. I've done that. Let me check that one off. I've done that. Let me check that one off.
Yeah, it sounds like that
Um,
needed, some pruning. You had some leftover, branches from before.
he purged it. So he's purged all of this so that I can bear fruit. And it's been, I haven't been able to bear fruit to the level I'm capable of because of all of that a negative self-talk, I guess, is if I want to put it in psychological terms.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
There's a sort of
anyway,
pride. There's a sort of pride relying on your own sort of judgment about yourself. You know, it.
exactly. And I didn't, it never made sense. I wasn't believing him this whole time. I say I believe in him, but I'm not actually believing his words,
Yeah,
you know? So anyway, I was trying to talk to you about something similar last week, but really you can kind of see God's hand in all the details of our lives, really. The reason
totally.
why it didn't work last week, because there was a little bit extra that I hadn't been through yet to really get
Yeah,
me to the point that I needed to vocalize this stuff. So
totally. Praise God. Praise God.
yeah,
Yeah,
amen,
no,
amen.
no, man. Yes, I know for sure there's going to be people that relate with what you're saying, and it is interesting because there's different ways we can, I guess, maybe visualize it, or different metaphors we could play with it. You know, with an infant or something, when a child is born, right? They have the opportunity and the access to just an unconditional amount of love and care, hopefully, best case scenario, love and care from a mother who wants nothing but to love them, comfort them, give them everything they need, right?
Hmm.
But some infants, for whatever reason, this is a metaphor, but we'll go with it. For some reason, if an infant is fighting against his mother to be fed, or is kicking and screaming for whatever reason, and it is difficult for the mother to hold on to, right? If it's wiggling and trying to escape, if it's but honestly, by no like fault of its own, right? It just is new, it doesn't really know. um but there comes a time when the infant will sort of discover, not kicking and screaming, or not wriggling away, or not, finally realizes that everything it needs is right there in front of it. And there's a mother who wants nothing but to meet all of his needs. It's not like it was actively rebelling before, it's not like it was consciously pushing his mother away. um, but it's just the sort of trauma of being alive, really, that has it kicking and screaming and crying and making things more difficult, when really, you know eventually there comes a time when you could call it surrender, you could call it whatever, discovery, you can call it allows itself to be cared for by its mother, and it just totally changes the game. So not to call you a baby, but just to put some imagery to it, it's how we all are. And honestly, we never really fully, it comes in waves, it comes in waves, but it's that, yeah, when we are living in sort of the pride of sorry, living in the pride of like letting our own judgments about ourself supersede what God is really trying to communicate and bring to us. That's one of those sort of self-induced prisons that, I mean, thank God Almighty that He brings us out of that. But it is definitely something that one could struggle with for who knows how long. It takes that surrender.
It takes as long as it takes,
Yeah, right,
as long as you don't you don't give up on it,
right.
because I mean, bro, I can't tell you how many times that I was just so full of self-hatred that I just wanted to stop. Um, but one of the gifts he's given me is the ability to, because my brain is very active. I'm sure there's other people out there like that. It just doesn't never stops, and I'm always analyzing everything. But I can often see how the chain of events worked to a certain end, and throughout all of that, I see his fingerprints, right? So it's that kept me from giving up. And one
Yeah.
time, I remember this very specific moment I had. I hope this isn't TMI, but I was completely naked, about to take a shower, and I was, thinking about some things, and all of a sudden, I just felt this overwhelming, very intense, um, multiple emotions all at once, almost like all the emotions all at once. And it
Mm.
felt like, to the point that I was going to explode. I mean, it was very intense. Um, and after I got through it, um, I was pondering, what was that? What the heck was that? And then it came to my mind. It's like, that was God hugging me.
Mm. Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah.
That was the moment I stopped giving up.
Yeah. Praise God.
Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to get all emotional, but
No, there's
it's
no reason. There's no reason to
yeah,
apologize. I think that's extremely powerful. Not even just maybe people who are going through it now, but so many of us have gone through the same thing. And it occurs to me that again, a big part of it, maybe this is, I mean, it sounds like this might be a sort of key of that experience. Going back to patience, patience being, we can act patient and stop striving for our own salvation, stop striving to make ourselves into a forgivable being or something, especially early on. But there comes this patience, and the patience in its fullness comes hand in hand with presence, right? There's nothing
yeah,
for us to do to be forgivable. There's nothing for us to do to, really feel God. There's nothing for us to do in those types of moments. Um, but when the patience gets mixed with presence, right? And it feels
hmm,
like God's presence was really kind of what unlocked this whole situation for you. And, you know, there's a lot of people, and of course, I've wondered this myself, and this is a constant. It's part of the mysterious life of being a believer, and a mysterious life of trying to get through this weird material existence. Um, as a believer, as someone who's wants to align themselves with God and have this sort of cosmic um, promise that's been given to us, you know, that to really feel that presence of God, you can yearn for it. You can really yearn
hmm,
for it. You can read your Bible more, you can pray more, you can just really, really search for it. I've been there. I know lots of people out there have been there as well, especially once you've tasted it before, and maybe it's been some time or it doesn't quite feel like that. We can know intellectually that God is of course with us, like he always is, even when we're just looking patient. But really, it's his presence that brings that comfort and that patience. um, and that's, I mean, that's the sauce. That's what you're trying to get at when you're like, oh, I need to be better, I need to be more forgivable, I need to, do whatever needs to be done. The real sauce is that moment of presence that just, it's almost like everything makes sense finally,
yes,
you know in a
yes,
way that, kind of like you said, in a way that you couldn't really explain. I mean, we can people have been trying for thousands and thousands of years to describe the experience of God's presence, so it's one of those unending sort of mysteries. Um, but you know it when you see it. You feel it's transformative, even if there's nothing,
Mhm.
even if there's not a super smart, super spiritual, sentence or prayer or description that comes out of it, and that's kind of the point, I think. I think it's meant to be that sort of ineffable experience that it can bring not just the peace and the joy, but the true like understanding of God's love for us. And like the dream I had a few nights ago, I described it a couple episodes ago, where I just had this like amazing experience with God's presence in my dream. And the only thing I remember, I was walking with God, I was talking with God. It was amazing. Everything made sense. I was given the secrets of the universe. It was amazing. But the only part of the dream that I remember is me going, I'm going to forget all this, aren't I, God? He's like, yep, you're going to forget it all. I'm like, dang it. Okay. Well,
Uh,
thanks for this experience. It was really meaningful. I hope it comes back someday. But
well, the
that's part of
forgetting stops someday.
yeah, someday. We'll see. We'll see when.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, God bless you. I'm so thrilled to hear that God's been moving in your life like that.
Yeah, man, and I just for anybody else out there who might be going through something similar, that's kind of why I'm sharing it because I thought for so long um, that I just wasn't worthy, right? And
Mm.
that I just kept screwing up and just he's rejecting me. He's never gonna forgive me. And he's patient. He's so
Right.
patient,
Right.
and you've already been forgiven. You just have to accept it and believe it. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's it.
Yeah. No.
I
Amen,
wanted to
bro.
talk about the Candace Owen things too, but I've already taken up too much time.
Good word, buddy. Good word. The Holy Spirit makes time for Candace whenever he decides to. So not
Yeah,
today.
yeah.
Yeah. All right, buddy. Well, God bless
All
you,
right.
buddy. Hope you call in
You
again.
too. Thanks.
Bye
We'll
bye.
talk to you later.
God bless. Yeah, so good. So good. I mean, what is it? That's it. That's everything. That's everything. That's all there is. That's the whole experience. Um yeah. You know, this was this is kind of funny. It's on topic, I promise you. But just kind of like another thing which I hadn't really considered was going to be really an important part of anything, but as usual, the Lord's kind of drawing connections here. Um, one fun thing about last month was I had to go on a little weekend trip, and I had to go to a place that I'd been to before. I don't really like going there. It's about 5 hours away, but had to go. And usually I just drive 5 hours, just zone out, just hit the road and deal with the traffic or whatever, and it's just whatever it is, right? Um, but for some reason, I don't even really know why, but I came to the conclusion that I should take the train there. I've never taken a train anywhere in my life. You look into taking a train ride, if it's a place you can drive in 5 hours, it's like less than a tank of gas. Like that's pretty I mean, that's just your time and your energy. That's really the most painful part, driving for 5 hours, but unpleasant for me. But I was like, "What if I just take a train?" And so I go on and I start looking at train tickets, and I'm like, "Okay, I mean, it's not that expensive. It's, maybe a little more than a tank of gas to go both ways." So, but it is more expensive. I mean, it is objectively more expensive. And I'm like, well, okay, let's try to be responsible with finances here. But then looking around, I'm like, oh my gosh, it takes like 9 hours on the train. It's like a 5 hour drive and a 9 hour train ride. And my first instinct was, oh, no way. What? 9 hours? Who's got that time? I can't do it. It just doesn't make sense. It was just right off the bat, didn't make sense. I guess I got to drive. Long story short, I ended up taking the train. And I'm trying to look, it's fun. I'll go on a train. It's a fun idea. Haven't been on the train in my adult life. Not happy about the 9 hours and, the money, God provided the money to do it. So I go, okay. So I show up and I get on the train. And here's the thing about trains, folks. If you have not taken a train trip recently, it's somewhere between a flight and a cruise, like a 9-hour cruise, in that it is very small. It's like you're in a plane. Like it's very compact. It's very, tubular. The hallways are extremely skinny. You gotta like shimmy past people if you want to go to the bathroom or something. But it's in a cruise. It's like a cruise in a way because you can get up, you can walk to other cars, you can walk to the dining car, you can walk to the observation thing or whatever. You can be up and about the whole time if you want it. And so it's kind of cool, but it was still 9 hours. Oh, and by the way, trains for the most part were all built in like 1970. Okay. So if you do go on the train, which I do recommend, go on the train. Okay. Bearing the lead here, recommend the train. You just don't want to look at anything too closely, kind of like just take the whole experience in, because you start looking too closely, you kind of see things are kind of dirty and things are kind of falling apart and things are kind of weird. Okay. So admittedly, at least the train that I was on, look, widen your lens, blur your eyes. It's cool. You'll have a good time. And I had to get on the train really early in the morning because it's going to be 9 hours. And it takes me 9 hours to get to this place, believe it or not. And then I'm only in this place for about 24 hours after that. Then I have to get on the train and I come back. And it really felt like a sacrifice, this extra time. But what I experienced was the most refreshing, relaxing, chill travel experience that I had ever had in my life. I had exchanged 5 hours of white knuckling it, going 65 miles an hour, weaving around, navigating, trying not to crash, whatever, we call it driving. And I traded it for this basically mini vacation that was totally changed the whole tenor of the trip. I didn't really want to go, but I had to go. But the idea that it would take 9 hours was a negative. I thought it was silly. I thought it was pointless. I thought, what am I going to do for 9 hours? At least when I'm driving, I'm doing something productive. But it turns out that the best parts of the trip were on these 9-hour stretches where I was not in control and I knew I was not in control. There was nothing that I could do to make the train go faster. There was nothing I could do to change the destiny that God had me on. And I'll tell you what, at least on this train, lots of leg room, big cushy chair, goes all the way back, totally chill, no crazy people. That was maybe the biggest blessing, no crazy people. And so one could say there was some sort of eternal life lesson that I learned. Gave up some control, gave into, admittedly, a longer trip, but there was nothing I could do about it. It was all on God's time, baby. And it was magnificent. So I say all this to say that God speaks through train trips, but also I am a full-on train obsessive now. I'm going to be riding trains every moment of every day that I can. Huge fan. I'm a fan of the cool parts. I'm a fan of the like quirky, weird parts that are like weird and dirty and like kind of inconvenient, whatever. And it's like this throwback to, I mean, there was a point where trains were like the pinnacle of human achievement. Not even that long ago. Nowadays, you think of trains and you're like, yeesh, public transportation, oof. Trains, what is this? The Wild West? You really only come in contact with trains when you're, I don't know, buying children's toys or watching murder mystery movies or something. Or Snowpiercer, which, if you are a fan of Snowpiercer, you know what I'm talking about. So this is my new thing. I am now a train person. Not only did it give me a deep and abiding spiritual lesson that, as we can see now through this episode, God has apparently been trying to teach me for a very long time through every life situation possible, from emu eggs to train trips to, I don't know, Bitcoin or something. And I was talking to somebody and I was telling them about my train trip and I was telling them what they're missing. It's like trains are the future. Trains are everything. People don't get it. Now, look, folks, you know me. I'm early to everything. If you've been with me for 10 or 15 years, you've experienced this over and over and over. The obscure obsessions that come out of nowhere for me on this show inevitably end up being one of the most important things in the world at some time. All right? We know this. I don't need to give you more examples, but I am telling you, trains are the future. I am telling you, something is going to happen that makes trains get a new golden age of trains. I don't know what it is. I don't know if Trump's going to start laying golden tracks. I don't know if it's just going to be a fad and suddenly Gen Zs are all going to be right. I don't know. But I'm telling you now, and I've called it before, start paying attention to trains, start riding trains. I guarantee you that I'll give it 6 months. Mark my words. Somebody write it down. 6 months. I'll give it 6 months before there's some sort of insane Gen Z trend that sweeps the nation that is something about their love of trains. You know, like 6-7 or Labubu or something like that, right? Something that'll be obvious, it'll be everywhere, but it'll be about Gen Z discovering trains. Because, of course, Gen Z discovers everything that, you know, has already gone through its sort of time of glory, and they're going to revitalize trains or something train related. And I was telling my friend, I was like, dude, I don't think anybody gets it. People are sleeping. I was going to say people are sleeping on trains, but what I mean is people are not paying enough attention to the train thing. Now, this is going to be one of those things, mark my words. I'm going to look back. I'm going to go, if only I knew that I could, I don't know, invest in trains, if only I pulled the trigger to somehow monetize trains in some way, I could have been a millionaire. That's happened dozens of times. I'm telling you, this train thing is going to happen now. I don't know if I could make the case logically and with evidence, but I have to lean on the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is trying to tell us something about trains. And in case you're getting itchy when I say that, I don't take that lightly. I take that very seriously. So I'm telling my friend this. And he's like, okay, all right, I guess I'll try to ride a train. And then today at 9 a.m., before this show, the algorithms are obviously on to me. I was on X, and you'll see here my new favorite follow, the Amtrak X account, tweeted all caps, by the way. I'm going to click follow on it. I didn't follow it. There you go. I'm following it. All caps, posted by Amtrak. The unbridled greatness of trains will endure for 1,000,000 years. I couldn't agree more, Amtrak. I couldn't agree more. Very Trumpian, very golden age language here. Another weird thing that I didn't know. Here's the thing. So I had mentioned on the show a couple times that I'm currently reading through Atlas Shrugged. And huge book, very long book. I'm not a huge fan of big books, but I consider it a life achievement when I can read one. And like most people, I think I thought that I had absorbed everything there was to know about Atlas Shrugged just through people talking about it or just through cultural osmosis, right? You're like, oh, Atlas Shrugged, who is John Galt, libertarianism, stuff like that. But as I'm reading through Atlas Shrugged, it has just an absolutely bizarre, laser-focused connection with everything going on in the world today, from social justice to DEI. I mentioned on the show the other day, there's even the phrase value for value in Atlas Shrugged. And what I didn't know about Atlas Shrugged before was that the whole book is basically about trains. Did you know this? Did you know trains are like the primary focus of the book Atlas Shrugged? Because I had no idea. And it's about a new golden age of trains. Now it's through technocracy and it's through, of course, free market. It's got everything. There's a huge DEI battle, by the way, in Atlas Shrugged. The whole thing is basically the past year and a half of the United States. But it is all about trains. So pay attention, folks. I know, I get it. You're thinking, what is he even talking about? What is this? Why am I listening to this? Go back to whatever talking about. I don't know. I get it. I get it all the time. But I'm telling you, now that I have brought your attention to it, now that I have told you my story about trains, now that I have showed you this Amtrak tweet from apparently, I gotta guess they have a new Gen Z person on their social media. And now that I've told you about Atlas Shrugged in trains, you're gonna start seeing it. So keep me posted. I beg you. Text the number. If you see something about trains, if you see a crazy story about trains, if you have a personal crazy experience, if you hear a celebrity talking about it, and you'll know when it's enough, right? I don't want you to just send me the train schedule for your area or something, but you'll know when you see it. Be like, oh my gosh, Basil was right. Send it to me. Email me, canarycryradio@gmail.com, or better yet, text it to the text message alert system. Text the word canary to 877-740-3226. Again, canary to 877-740-3226. Send me the train stuff. Stories, announcements, events, articles. I don't necessarily want the foamers to send me their pictures of trains that they've taken. If you don't know, a foamer is a train obsessed person, and they chase trains around and they film. They know like each engine by name, and they follow them around to film them, take pictures, get them to blow the horn. Love the foamers. Love you guys. I'm not quite at that point where I need you to send me the pictures of trains that you've taken out of nowhere. I mean, if there's something crazy on the train, like if the train has like an obvious UFO, like under a tarp on the train or something, send me that for sure. So there you go. All right. Let's see here. I think that's it. I think that's it for today. Talked about the emus, talked about the patients, talked about the trains, talked about the chicken, talked about God moving across the face of the earth, present in the tohu vavohu, the formless and the void, bringing existence into existence, allowing being to be by the power of God's will and his voice. What else is there to talk about? That's all there is. We should just be doing that all the time. So God bless you, everybody. Of course, give you a little bit of this, a little feeding the ducks. There you go. Appreciate you, everybody. Of course, we're on the Value for Value model. So if you get any value from this show, please consider going to canarycry.support. Support us in any way you can. Not just money, with your time, your talent, your treasure. If you're a producer, you have an idea to up the game here on Canary Cry Clubhouse. If you're an artist, you want to make some graphics. You got lots of room for new graphics for Clubhouse, you know. Anybody, if you got any kids out there with crayons, make some cool Canary Cry Clubhouse art, put on the thumbnails and stuff. Or just support it financially. Of course, no advertisements, no platform partnerships, no tendrils of mammon slithering their way in to gain control or influence over what happens on this beautiful piece of media. Please do it. And that's it for this week. We're going to be back on Monday with another Canary Cry News Talk. Stay safe, stay patient, everybody. If you're not patient, act patient. Pretend to be patient. Be still and know that he is God. And that still small voice will eventually meet you there, and you will be absolutely blown away by the glorious way that God handles the situation. Thanks for listening to this episode of Canary Cry Clubhouse. Make sure to tune in next time, but until then, think outside the cage.